Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. Imagine planning the most romantic night of your life. The candles are glowing, the music is soft, and the person you love is just moments away from hearing the words that will change everything forever. Your heart is racing, your hands are shaking slightly, and hidden in your pocket is the symbol of a lifelong commitment. A ring. But just as you're about to ask the question that could define your future, the doors burst open and someone storms in with a secret so devastating it could destroy everything in an instant. Tonight's story is one of love, betrayal, shocking revelations, and the secret life that no one saw coming. And trust me, by the end of this story, nothing will be the same again. So here's what went down. Will had been preparing for what he believed would be the best, happiest moment of his life. He had planned a perfect evening on a terrace overlooking the glowing lights of Los Angeles. The setting was almost cinematic. Candles flickered gently in the evening breeze. Soft music floated through the air, and the atmosphere was filled with romance and anticipation. Hidden carefully inside Will's jacket pocket was a velvet ring box. Inside that box was the question he had been waiting weeks to ask Dylan. To Will, Dylan wasn't just someone he was dating. Dylan was the one person who seemed to truly understand him. Through all the chaos and drama that constantly surrounded their social circle, Will believed their connection was something real, something solid, something unbreakable. When Dylan finally arrived that evening, he walked in with a warm smile, completely unaware that his life was about to be turned upside down. The two of them shared a quiet moment together, looking out of over the glowing skyline of Los Angeles. They laughed about how their relationship first started, recalling the awkward misunderstanding and funny moments that had brought them closer together. For a brief moment, everything felt peaceful. The outside world, with all its conflicts and betrayals, seemed far away. It was just the two of them, standing together under the night sky. But fate had other plans. Just as Will's voice began to tremble with emotion and his hand slowly moved toward the ring box in his pocket, the terrace door suddenly flew open. The sound of hurried footsteps shattered the romantic silence. Electra stormed in. Her expression was intense, her eyes burning with determination, and something darker beneath the surface. In a single instant, the entire atmosphere changed. Stop! She shouted. The word echoed through the terrace like a thunderclap. Will froze. Dylan turned toward her, completely confused about why she looked so desperate. What are you doing here? Dylan demanded. Electra didn't answer right away. Instead, her eyes locked onto Will. You can't do this, she said warmly. You cannot ask him to marry you. The silence that followed was suffocating. Will's face tightened with frustration. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. This is none of your business, Electra, he snapped. But Electra refused to back down. Before you make the biggest mistake of your life, she said slowly, you deserve to know the truth. At first, the accusation hung in the air like distant thunder before a storm. Dylan's expression hardened instantly. What truth? He asked. Electra hesitated for just a moment, as if the weight of what she was about to reveal was almost too much to carry. Then she took a deep breath. Everything you think you know about Dylan isn't real. Will scoffed immediately, trying to dismiss the moment. This is ridiculous, he said. If you came here tonight to cause drama, you picked the worst possible time. But Electra shook her head. I didn't come here to start drama, she said quietly. I came here to stop you from ruining your life. Dylan stepped forward, his voice suddenly cold. You have said enough. He warned, leave. Electra turned toward him slowly, anger flashing in her eyes. No, she said, not until he knows who you really are. Now Will was completely confused. What are you talking about? He asked. Electra's voice trembled slightly, but she forced the words out. Dylan is not who he says he is. The tension on the terrace became unbearable. Dylan suddenly laughed, but the sound was forced and unnatural. This is insane, he said quickly. She's jealous. But Electra wasn't done. From her purse, she pulled out a folded document and tossed it onto the table between them. Will stared at it, uncertain whether he even wanted to look. What is this? He asked quietly. Electra answered with chilling clarity. Proof. Dylan's face instantly turned pale. Slowly, Will picked up the paper. His eyes scanned the lines, and the skepticism on his face began to fade into shock. This can't be real, he whispered. Electra nodded sadly. It is. Suddenly Dylan exploded. Don't listen to her, he shouted. She's manipulating you. But the panic in his voice only made things worse. Will looked from the document back to Dylan, searching desperately for answers. Tell me this isn't true, Will whispered. Dylan said nothing, and that silence spoke louder than anything else. Electra stepped forward again, her voice breaking as she delivered the truth that shattered everything. Dylan is already married. The words hit Will like a physical blow. Electra continued, her voice steady but heavy with emotion. And not only that, he has a family. Dylan tried to interrupt, but she kept going. They're in France, a spouse and two children who believe Dylan is working overseas. Will felt like the ground beneath him had disappeared. He looked at Dylan with trembling disbelief. Is that true? He asked weakly. Dylan ran a hand through his hair, clearly unraveling. It's complicated, he muttered, and that was the moment everything exploded. Will's heartbreak quickly transformed into pure rage. Complicated? He shouted. You were going to let me propose to you while you were already married. Dylan tried to defend himself. I was going to tell you eventually. Eventually? Will interrupted furiously. After we were already married. The carefully constructed world Dylan had built was collapsing in front of everyone. Will looked down at the document again. The evidence was undeniable. You lied to me, he said quietly. The pain in his voice was deeper than any accusation. Dylan stepped toward him desperately. This wasn't how I wanted it to happen. But Will backed away immediately. Don't come near me. The terrace, that had once have been filled with romance and hope, had now turned into the stage for emotional devastation. Electra finally spoke again, her voice softer this time. Will, I'm sorry. I didn't want to hurt you, but you deserved to know. Will looked at her, still struggling to process everything. You knew about this? He asked. Electra nodded slowly. I found out a few days ago. I tried to convince Dylan to tell you himself, but he refused. Dylan glared at her angrily. You had no right. Electra didn't flinch. He had every right to know the truth. As the confrontation continued, old tensions and grudges began surfacing. Will suddenly remembered every strange moment from the past few months, every mysterious phone call, every sudden trip abroad that Dylan claimed was for work, every vague answer about his past. Not it all made sense. You played me, Will said bitterly. Dylan shook his head desperately. No, I loved you. But now those words sounded hollow. Meanwhile, the consequences of this revelation were already beginning to ripple through their entire circle of friends across Los Angeles. In a world already full of drama, this scandal would quickly become the latest explosive chapter in their history. But for Will, none of that mattered. All that mattered was the devastating truth that the man he trusted had been living a double life. Honestly, situations like this hit differently because they show just how destructive secrets can be. Dylan didn't just lie about a small detail, he built an entire relationship on deception. And when someone creates that kind of double life, it's almost impossible for the truth to come out without causing massive damage. At the time, Electra's role here is incredibly complicated. She clearly knew revealing the secret which could cause chaos, heartbreak, and humiliation. But imagine watching someone you care about walk straight into a life altering mistake. Do you stay silent or do you step in and risk destroying everything in order to protect them? That's the moral dilemma at the center of this entire situation. Because while Electra did ruin Will's proposal, she may have also saved him from a much bigger disaster. And the truth is, Dylan probably never would have confessed if she hadn't forced the truth into the open. As the night came to an end, the candles that Will had carefully arranged earlier continued flickering quietly in the evening breeze. Just hours before, the terrace had been filled with hope, love, and anticipation. Now it was filled with heartbreak, betrayal, and the devastating reality of a secret life that had finally been exposed. Will stood there, still holding the document that proved everything: the relationship he believed in, the future he had imagined, and the trust he had placed in Dylan. All of it had shattered in a single night. And the biggest twist of all, Electra didn't just interrupt a proposal. She exposed a secret that could completely destroy Dylan's life. Now I want to hear from you. If you were in Will's position, what would you do after discovering something like this? Would you ever forgive someone who hid an entire family from you? And do you think Electra did the right thing by revealing the truth at that moment? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoy dramatic stories like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next shocking story. Because trust me, the drama is just getting started.